Xijin posted a sharp response to former CIA Director Mike Pompeo. The superpowers are at loggerheads over the U.S. position in the eastern region, and have repeatedly condemned the Trump administration's support for neighboring nations such as Taiwan. China claims sovereignty over Taiwan, an island, but this is rejected by the Taiwanese government along with its ally the U.S. Last year saw numerous U.S. military drills in the region countered by exercises by the Chinese Navy and vice versa. Chinese warplanes made at least 380 incursions into Taiwan's Air Defense Identification Zone in 2020, according to Xijin, a Taiwanese Defense Ministry spokesman. Washington has agreed multi-billion-dollar arms deals with Taiwan and sent officials to the country, aggravating Beijing. On Sunday, Mr. Pompeo disputed China's claim it is a near-Arctic nation. It describes itself as an important stakeholder in Arctic affairs, which the U.S. rejects. In 2018, China declared itself a near-Arctic state, despite Beijing being further from the North Pole than Berlin. This prompted the retort from Xijin about U.S.'s proximity to the South China Sea. Mr. Pompeo said, "He made clear that it is a communist fiction for China to be a near-Arctic nation when you are 900 miles from the Arctic. This pangolin's nose under the Arctic tent went on for too long. We did what we do by calling out simple reality." Mr. Hu responded on Tuesday saying, "Mr. Pompeo, Chinese Foreign Ministry suggests you measure how far continental U.S. is from the South China Sea." Hua Chunying, China's Foreign Ministry spokesperson, also responded at a press briefing on Tuesday. She said, "Mr. Pompeo ignores objective facts, hypes ideology and exaggerates threats to Arctic security, which is inconsistent with the general trend of peaceful cooperation in the Arctic." The distance between the continental U.S. and the South China Sea should be some 8,300 miles, and even Hawaii is more than 5,800 miles away. Then on what grounds should the U.S. send military airplanes and vessels to the region to conduct frequent and intensive military drills and close-up reconnaissance? The International Arctic Council consists of the U.S., Canada, Russia, Norway, Sweden, Denmark, Iceland and Finland. China is classified as a one of 13 observer states with the likes of the UK, Germany, Spain and India. U.S. Congress has approved a new $740.5 billion defense spending bill, which includes a 5-year $18.5 billion Pacific Deterrence Initiative. Beijing and Washington have also clashed over trade, the coronavirus and human rights over the last year. A report by a UK-based think tank has said China will overtake the USA to become the world's biggest economy by 2028. China has told its military to be ready to act at any second amid rising tensions over disputed territories in the South China Sea. It comes as the UK's HMS Queen Elizabeth aircraft carrier is expected to be deployed to the region in the coming months as part of its first operational mission. Monday saw China's People's Liberation Army begin the year's schedule of military training and exercises. In his first address to the country's armed forces of the new year, Premier Xi Jinping stressed the need for full-time combat readiness. He also said that current frontline military struggles should be used to maintain troops' preparedness, and that the army must remain ready to act at any second. The comments marked a contrast to last year's New Year address, which encouraged the PLA to manage crises and deter war, the South China Morning Post reports. Xi did not give details of the military struggles he referred to, but the past year has seen mounting tensions between China and a number of other nations. Relations with the West deteriorated over China's handling of the coronavirus pandemic, its repression of protests in Hong Kong, and control over the South China Sea. The U.S. has frequently sent ships through the South China Sea to challenge China's claim to the region, and there is speculation that Britain will do the same when HMS Queen Elizabeth becomes fully operational. The ship is expected to join American and Japanese naval forces near Japan's Ryukyu Islands as soon as early in 2021, according to Kyodo News. Asked about the possible deployment at a press conference in Beijing on Thursday, Chinese Defense Ministry spokesman Tan Kefei said, The Chinese side believes that the South China Sea should not become a sea of great power rivalry dominated by weapons and warships. He added that the real source of militarization in the South China Sea comes from countries outside this region sending their warships thousands of kilometers from home to flex muscles. The Chinese military will take necessary measures to safeguard its sovereignty, security and development interest as well as peace and stability in the South China Sea, he said. States including China, Taiwan, Brunei, Indonesia, Malaysia, the Philippines, and Vietnam make claims to parts of the South China Sea, with various others keen to maintain access to the area's shipping lanes. An estimated $3.4 trillion worth of global trade passes through the sea each year, accounting for around 1/3 of all global maritime trade. The region also has large fish stocks as well as huge reserves of oil and gas. In recent years, China has attracted international condemnation over its construction of military bases in the disputed waters. The last year also saw an escalation of a long-standing dispute between China and India over control of a number of regions along their shared border. Each side accuses the other of building roads and other infrastructure in disputed territory. In June, 20 Indian troops and an unknown number of Chinese troops were killed when hand-to-hand combat broke out in the Galwan River Valley region. China has also increased the number of exercises and flyby operations near Taiwan, which it considers to be a rogue province. Speaking to the South China Morning Post, Hong Kong-based military analyst Song Zhongping said, "China is indeed facing a great risk of war, which has been seriously implied in this order." Meanwhile, the Navy will start regularly sailing near Russian land claims in the increasingly ice-free Arctic, challenging Moscow's push in the high north, Navy Secretary Kenneth Braithwaite said today. The Secretary was rolling out the Navy's new Arctic strategy paper, which followed last month's release of a tri-service strategy last month along with the Marines and Coast Guard, which promised that U.S. ships will adopt a more assertive posture in our day-to-day operations around the globe as a check against Chinese and Russian adventurism. During a phone conference with reporters today, Braithwaite said the U.S. will have to operate more assertively in the Arctic in the coming years to challenge both Russian, and to a lesser extent, Chinese claims in the high north. He asked Braithwaite if the U.S. should begin running freedom of navigation operations or FONOPS off of Russia's northern coast in response. It's sort of the same situation in the South China Sea that when we look at freedom of navigation operations and the ability to operate in international waters, the United States claims the right to be able to do that. That takes us up into the Barents Sea, and then takes us around the Barents and up towards the Kola Peninsula to be more present in that part of the world. Again, where sea lanes open up in the Northern Passage becomes navigable, the U.S. Navy is going to guarantee that freedom of navigation exists for our partners. The Kola Peninsula is a heavily militarized zone jutting into the Arctic that houses the powerful Northern Fleet, which includes Russia's formidable submarine force. The Russians push out of Kola into the Barents and then into the North Atlantic, making the waters around it critical for Moscow's power projection. Comparing Beijing's illegal claims in the South China Sea with more recent Russian moves in the north, Braithwaite added, he sees some of those near-peer competitors believe that certain bodies of water belong to them. The international community recognizes that those are international waters he gonna operate there. And so that's the more assertive role that he talking about. That's the more bold posturing that he feel as he right, and he responsibility, frankly, as the predominant naval force in the world. As for the Russians, Russia is investing heavily to enhance its Arctic defense and economic sectors, with a resultant multi-layered militarization of its northern flank, accusing Moscow of running escalatory and non-transparent military operations and unlawful regulation of maritime traffic along the Northern Sea route which degrades security in the region. The new strategy didn't call for any specific actions or technologies that would make Arctic transits easier or more frequent, but the two documents, paired with Braithwaite's comments, indicate that Navy leadership is looking lean forward in the region to the extent possible. It won't be easy. With no deepwater ports in Alaska to repair and launch Navy ships, spotty satellite communications above the Arctic Circle, and only one operational Coast Guard icebreaker to Russia's 50, it's hard to see how the US might rush north. For decades, the US has relied on nuclear submarines to quietly patrol under the ice of the Arctic, and Braithwaite suggested that's not going to change, even if more surface ships head north. US strongest advantage in that region is our submarine force, Braithwaite said. That's why you saw in the future naval force structure such an emphasis put on building up to 70 to 80 submarines in the coming years, almost doubling the 48 currently in the fleet.